Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today we are on to new pastures. We have moved past season 3 and we are on to season 4 of the original L Word. Just before we get started on the video, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so that you are notified anytime I post about the L Word or any news about Generation Q Season 2. Make sure to hit that bell notification so that it sends you a little ping anytime that I post. And don't forget to like the video and comment, and you can be entered into a draw to win the L Word Generation Q Season 1 on DVD. All you have to do is do those 3 things: subscribe to the channel, like this video or any L Word video, and comment on this or any L Word video, and let me know your best and worst moments from Season 4. Not really any news going on with Generation Q Season 2 that I've heard, but there has been a little bit of movement on the Showtime social media where they did post this funny little joke about Bette and Tina fans, so I thought it was really funny myself, and they have been quite active lately, so maybe reading too much into this, but hopefully that means that sometime soon we are going to get some news or some updates. But a lot of shows have started filming again in Canada, and although the original show was shot there, Generation Q is not. It's shot in California, so things would have to get significantly better for them to start filming again. But of course, as I said before, I will notify you guys as soon as I hear anything, and I will of course make a video about it. So without any further ado, let's get started with Season 4, Episode 1, Legend in the Making. Kind of a trend with the later seasons where we pick up right after the finale of the previous season. Normally in Season 1, 2 and 3 there's quite a lot of time that passes, but Season 4 picks up right where we left off, and they're still actually in Canada dealing with the repercussions of Shane leaving Carmen at the altar. And we do get Carmen mentioned a bit in this episode, but we don't hear too much about Carmen after this episode, and the only time we do get to see her is in the series finale when she makes that little video for Bette and Tina. As always, breaking it down by character, starting off with Jenny, who, this is a good episode for Jenny. She's getting her book published and she's met this new girl, everything's going well, but she's obviously really upset with Shane for leaving Carmen at the altar, which is totally understandable. And huge banner in the works on the launch of her book night, Marina shows up. And I actually forgot that Marina came in this episode. I always forget for some reason, and I always remember her coming back for the Les Girls episode, but yeah, just strange that I never equate this episode with Marina coming back. And I always thought it was really strange in the scene where Kit like notices Marina's there and then just stops. Like, imagine if you went to that reading for Jenny's book and you didn't know any of them or like the story, and she just walks off the stage and go and talks to Marina, and then for a few minutes too, and then yeah. There is only that really small scene with Marina and the rest of the group. And I know I've spoken about this on the channel before, that there was a lot of tension with Karina Lombard and a lot of the other cast. In particular, I think with Jennifer Beals, that was the main gossip back in the early mid-2000s when the show was on. So I think that was purposely done to not really have to have any scenes with anyone else or interact too much. I mean, they can obviously all be professional, and they just had her in that little scene with Jenny's book launch and kind of everyone there, and then her main scene with Jenny away from the rest of the cast. Jenny does seem to get some mixed reviews regarding the book, and as we know, there is, you know, Stacey Merkin and all these other characters that come into play with the book review, and publishers, and then the Les Girls thing, obviously way down the road in the season and turns into a big storyline in season 5. So yeah, Jenny not too Jenny-ish in this episode. Just obviously the Marina thing was a big focal point, and she's having this, you know, very highly charged new relationship, but she seems to be kind of a pretty cool cucumber. She's ended things with Max, and Marina showing up just at that point is pretty interesting. Shane, not too much really goes on with her this episode, apart from, I mean, character development wise, she just seems to make a total mess out of absolutely everything. She's left Carmen at the altar, she's gone off with Sherry Jaffe, and is just seems to be doing a lot of drugs and then jumping in the ocean and then making the awful, terrible decision of drinking and whatever else she was under the influence of and driving, which obviously anybody knows that is just terribly selfish and one of the worst things you can do, because it's not yourself that you're just hurting, there's other people out on the road innocently going about their lives. So Shane kind of annoyed me with that whole behaviour, but at the end of the episode things definitely take a twist for Shane, because her dad's wife Carla ends up leaving something for Shane on the back porch, and it ends up being her half-brother Shay. So Shane is definitely woken up whenever this happens to her and she can't catch up to Carla. So Shay does become quite a big part of at least the beginning of season 4. So we shall see how Shane copes with that. Kit is going through the whole morning sickness thing with being pregnant. She does go to get an abortion and goes into this clinic where the pro-life people have overtaken it, and they pose as a doctor, and then they try and attack Kit for the choice that she's making, and it's horrible. And I have read that there's things like this that has happened in real life to people, where the pro-lifer people will pose as doctors or medical professionals, and it's just disgusting. Like, there's no other word for it, because people are making a decision that's right for themselves for a whole host of reasons, and these people are just, yeah, scum of the earth in my opinion. Max and Jenny have broken up, and we do see Max quite a bit more now in his work environment, and I think it's really interesting to see Max and the storyline with work and how differently he's treated compared to when he was presenting as a female, because as I said before, I do work in a very male dominated field in the tech industry, and I just really enjoyed this storyline. And then we do have the other part of Max's storyline where he's finally found a trans support group, and the other men in the group are kind of saying to him, you are on an insane amount of tea and you can be causing liver damage and also your personality. So they really help him out and give him the number of an endocrinologist who Matt trained, who Max can go and see and get the testosterone in a prescription in a proper way, and be getting lab results to make sure that there's nothing untoward going on with the treatment that he's having. I'm going to talk about Alice and Helena together because all of their scenes are together, and one of the really high points of this season for me is the Alice and Helena friendship. Like, I really enjoy their relationship together, and I think it's so funny now that Helena's had like her fortune taken away and she has to live as like a, you know, normal person. I've been around a lot of people like Helena who come from very wealthy families, and seeing them try and function sometimes to do really simple things is pretty amusing. And Helena having to give up her place, oh my god, that is like the house of dreams. It's so gorgeous, and then she's having to go and live not even in her own place, like stay on a front sofa. Just, yeah, she's really hit the earth hard. But as we know, it really is the making of Helena, and she is able to cope and see that people really do love her for her. And as Peggy Peabody says, even when she is penniless, everybody's stuck by her. One of the greatest things about this episode is that there is not one but two mentions of MySpace, which anyone who is younger who is watching this may not even know what MySpace is, but it was the super cool social media before Facebook. And I saw a tweet the other day from someone who said that they wish that when you came onto someone's like social media, Instagram or Facebook, that music played so you knew what the person was feeling or something. And someone else had retweeted it and put, we've now entered the stage where people don't even know what MySpace was, because that was one of the functions of MySpace. Another train. They do have this one scene with Alice, Helena, and Jenny at the planet, and it's kind of funny because it's the R chart. It's like a little infomercial in the middle of the episode, and they explain about what R chart is, because if you didn't watch the L Word when it was on TV, they actually did have this site, this R chart site, and people could go on it and put in whatever they wanted to. It was like a networking site, and message boards and things like that. So yeah, this was kind of a plug for our chart. But yeah, Helena and Alice, the friendship definitely is one of the high points of the season for me. And Alice, I've said this before, but definitely now, as one like in my early 30s, I love Alice way more than I did when I watched the show as like 19, 20, early 20s. And I think she's fantastic and is really becoming pretty close to my favorite character. I mean, joint with Bette, but yeah, I have this huge love for Alice, and I just think she's awesome. And on to our last characters, who of course are not on the best of terms right now. Bette and Tina, they are both absolutely at war with one another, but they are also behaving like absolute nutcases. They have definitely both taken it too far. Bette has stolen Angelica and basically like run off, not told anyone, not, everyone's trying to call her and she's not answering, and Kit finds her at I think they're in a motel, and bangs on the door, and she literally goes to the bathroom to try and jump out the window with the baby. So by the time they get back to LA, Tina and Henry get back to LA and go to Bette's house, and Bette has changed the locks. Tina is banging on the door, the whole house is dark, it's obvious Bette's not there. Tina's having a breakdown, and the way Tina is behaving also is, you've clearly known Bette for nearly a decade and you were the most important people in each other's lives. You know her extremely well. Like, is she really going to be endangering the baby? I mean, obviously she's worried she's not going to see the baby again, but Bette is not going to like take off and go and live in Timbuktu, but Bette is behaving like a lunatic also, so they're both just out of their minds. And we have this amazing scene at Joyce Wishnier's, which this scene is just, I hate seeing Bette and Tina fighting obviously, but it's just so effing fantastic. Jane Lynch is so great in it, and then Jennifer Beals and Laura Holloman are awesome too, but it's just Joyce Wishnier's face throughout, and the way she explains about, if this goes to court and what's going to happen. And she's telling them how it would play out, in the press and the media. And she's like, oh, I wish Johnny Cochran was still alive, because she's like picturing herself, being Bette's lawyer. And she's like, oh, I'd love to, be battling Johnny Cochran, who's the O.J. Simpson lawyer. And like, it just is hysterical. I love this scene so much. Bet is so quick in there too, whenever she's saying to Tina, like, you're running back to white heterosexual privilege, and Tina saying, you know, oh, so I'm not qualified to raise a biracial child, I was just qualified to sleep with one. And Bet's like, you obviously weren't qualified for that either. It's just, it's such a great scene. And even little minute things like their facial expressions, and like Bet clearly has been crying or is like holding in such rage, but like she's got like, you know, tear stain on her face, and it's just, there's so many little things going on as well that it just makes the whole thing absolutely brilliant. And even stuff like looking at what Joyce has on her wall, she is one of the best characters, and I would so love to see her back on Generation Q and see what she and Phyllis are up to. We do get a mention of Phyllis when she calls Bet when she's on the road with Angelica, and we do also get the mention of Pappy when they're doing, you know, the little arch art ad, and they're trying to say, oh, who's Pappy? She has slept with more girls than Shane. Pappy is played by Janina Garvanker, and I don't think we would ever really see her back in Generation Q because she's actually in the morning show with Reese Witherspoon, Jennifer Aniston, and Steve Carell. If you haven't seen it, it's on the Apple TV. It's really, really good. So I highly recommend that. Another recommendation that I just thought of was because of the whole MySpace thing. There's a new documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma, and it's amazing. It's all about social media, and it's a lot of the top people from like YouTube, Facebook, Google, and how basically social media is like this psychologically addictive thing. And it's, as you know, I've mentioned before on the channel, I work in e-gaming, and how we make games to engage people and we want them to play and everything. So it's a similar thing that we do with social media. So it is stuff that I'm aware of, but seeing the social media side of it was really, really interesting. So anyone who's looking for something to watch at the weekend, The Social Dilemma on Netflix and The Morning Show on Apple are both definitely worth a watch. We have the episode ending the way you would maybe think a season finale would end, where Marina's shown up and kind of left Jenny in this limbo because it looks like Marina's sleeping with her girlfriend. Bette and Tina are just going head to head and gonna battle it out for Angelica. Shane is a wreck but has had her half-brother dropped in her lap. What is she gonna do? And Alice is taking Helena in, so we're gonna see some interesting things go on with them. Overall, as I said, this scene with Bette and Tina just is so fantastic. I love Jane Lynch. I think she's awesome in every episode of The L Word, but particularly this one. Helena and Alice, also really, really enjoyable episode overall. It's one of those episodes that I just maybe not like completely laugh out loud, but chuckle and smile throughout, and that's not something that you always get from The L Word. So it's definitely a good one, and nice, and you know, very quick wit and funny little things, which is great coming after season 3. So that's a wrap on this episode, guys. Let me know what you thought. What was your favorite bits? Who do you think is behaving the craziest out of Bette and Tina? My money's on Bet for that one. And what are you looking forward to most in the upcoming season? As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. You know, I really, really appreciate it. And as I said, my video next week might be up a day later as I'm away this weekend moving my brother to university. And of course, don't forget to follow me on social media. I post a lot of L Word content on there, and I will be putting some stuff up of my trip this week, hoping that everything goes well, boat and driving wise. So make sure that you take care of yourselves, stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye!